And my attitude is you wake up early, you take one small step forward every single day, working on what do you want to accomplish? What's your goal? How are you going to get there? Just take one small step and it's amazing where you'll end up.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where Kyle Curtin takes you on an extraordinary journey alongside renowned multifamily real estate experts from every corner of the United States. We teach you how to harness the power of real estate investing and witness the transformation of your wealth building strategy. Let's create wealth together.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 72 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, we get the great pleasure of chatting with Matt Damon, an absolutely incredible investor and flipper in the Littleton, Acton, Massachusetts area. What's going on, Matt? How's everything going, man? Very excited to have you on.
Hey, happy New Year. Excited to be on here, Kyle. And, excited to have a conversation about real estate, something I'm very passionate about, passive income, flipping houses. Those sort of topics are right up my alley. So anything real estate investing related, I'm in.
Of course. I love it. Happy New Year to you as well.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, if we could just kind of jump right in, what kind of gave you like the real estate bug, so to say, what kind of got you going and some of your backstory?
Yeah. So just as a little bit of background, I mean, I spent the last 10, 11, 12 years of my career working in finance and analytics for large corporations. And about 2.5, 3 years ago, I was having my oldest child, Juliana, and my wife and I, and I was reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and my business restructured. The group that I was in finance, we restructured. And two of the guys that I had spent the last 7, 8 years working with, they were let go. And they had kids in college, they had kids in high school. And I think that intersection of major life change happening with the baby, reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then watching how these careers that we think that are, we're locked in, we're good to go, we don't have to worry about job security or anything, we really do. And it became like this bulb went off in my head of, I need to figure out how do I get passive income, build up some sort of nest egg that's going to come cash flowing in each month. And so it became this journey for me of like, how do we start buying cash flow producing properties? And that was where our journey started. So it's almost, let's see, I guess it would have been 2.5 years ago at this point that started. We bought our first property 2 years ago. And then from there on out, it's been a wild ride.
That's crazy. Especially, to go from like that spot where, unfortunately you're kind of backed in a corner and like, had to make some kind of action, to put food on the table and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I was fortunate that I didn't lose my job, but it was watching these folks that did lose their job. It was all of a sudden very eye-opening to the fact that like, hey, listen, this is going to be me when I'm no longer the cutting edge, not the guy who's thriving. So I need to build something. And our plan was literally this. We were going to save as much as we could. We were going to buy one duplex or triplex a year until our duplexes and triplexes created enough cash that they would be buying themselves. And we just continue to do our corporate jobs and just work those corporate jobs for 20 years. And that was like, boom, there's our pension, there's our everything. It's our retirement, it's our future. And so that was the plan. How that translated onto paper ended up turning out quite different than initially anticipated. We're on our 18th deal. It's been a really wild ride. And my attitude is you wake up early, you take one small step forward every single day, working on what do you want to accomplish? What's your goal? How are you going to get there? Just take one small step and it's amazing where you'll end up.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So how was it like kind of buying that first property? Was the first one like a buy and hold, like a rental, or was it a flip?
No, the first one was a buy and hold. So we bought a very distressed property in Fitchburg. We still own it today. It needed a full gut renovation, and we actually financed it with conventional financing, which, knowing what I know now, looking back at that property, I cannot believe that they approved that for conventional financing. It was in really bad shape. but we were able to buy it with conventional financing. And, we renovated it in about 8 months, and today it produces $1,200-$1,400 a month in profit, which is fantastic. It just adds to the our cash flow that's coming in, which is great, the passive income. When we were finishing up that project, a friend of ours approached us and said, "Hey, do you flip properties?" And we were like, "Yeah, of course we flip properties, right?" Like, yeah, day, right? You just say yes, and from there we end up deciding, well, we'll flip and we'll take the proceeds from that, the profit from that. We'll just buy another cash flow producing, rental, and that's essentially what we ended up doing. And it started this journey of like, hey, listen, now we flip houses, and we still buy rentals. So our whole goal is around like, how do we get more passive income? How do we like increase that number substantially? And so the flips are something that we very much do. We do, anywhere from 8 to 10 a year. And we have one new construction going, but our whole goal is really not around doing flips. It's not around wholesaling. It's not around any of those things. It's around like holding properties, buying and holding properties. And so, yeah, it's been a wild ride.
That's super cool. I've always been really fascinated of, people that you like do that flip approach and then take the proceeds, and use that for down payments and, for like rentals and stuff, and just kind of like circle the money, and
that's what we did.
Super interesting.
Yeah. We bought a duplex, renovated that. Then we bought the fix and flip. Then we bought a duplex. Then we bought a fix and flip. We bought another fix and so forth. And it just spiraled. Sometimes we've wholesaled properties, handful of properties we've wholesaled. It's not something that we strive for, but if increase come up, we get a wholesale, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it is fascinating how if you dedicate time towards something that you're looking to accomplish, and you actually go out and you kind of allocate that time within your day to say, every Monday I'm going to do this, every Tuesday or whatever, and you build those routines and those rituals, you'll find that like, that consistency that you end up building up and that discipline of actually going about and doing that will result in massive impacts to your life that you didn't anticipate. I mean, talk about not anticipating things. We built this business up where I actually fully replaced my income from my corporate job. And we made the decision that we said, okay, well, at this point, we're making enough that I can leave my job, doing this part-time, nights, early mornings, late nights, weekends. What if I left my corporate job? What would that look like? And, I think that the thing that gave us a lot of peace of mind about that was we had a super healthy pipeline. We already had, quite a bit of income from the business stocked up. And so we were able to, for me to step out and focus on doing this 100% as of August. And that's been tremendous. I mean, we have 2 employees now. We have a project manager. We have an acquisitions manager that focus on finding properties and doing the project management of them. And then my role is helping to find financing and finding partners and finding, creating relationships with wholesalers, creating joint venture partnerships and so forth. And that's been what I've been spending the last 4 or 5 months on. It's been great.
That's super cool, man. That's crazy. Was this like last August that you're talking about that you left?
This was August 2021, so just 4 or 5 months ago when I left my job full time. I mean, we had our second child in May, so I had been on paternity leave for a while. So feels like I've been doing this full time since May. Yeah. Because it basically was like, this is our mad dash. We're going to make it happen. So we did. I mean, it's been great. We've learned a ton. It hasn't been easy. There's been times when it's been stressful. There's been late nights. There's been a lot of angst along the way, but it's been so rewarding. Actually, I'm reading a book right now. It was on the Biggerpockets podcast. You may have heard of it. It's something about like from gap to gain.
I think I've heard of it. I'm not sure.
Okay. It's from the authors of Who Not How. And it's about finding happiness. And, a lot of times with high achievers like yourself, like other folks, what they tend to do is as they go out and accomplish things, they tend not to feel any sort of happiness or success or anything as a result of that, of what they're accomplishing. And so it's like, it's about enjoying the process and finding out that happiness isn't something that you can just go work towards. It's something that you either are happy or you're not. It's a choice. And like getting up every day, choosing to be happy and choosing to focus on, these are the things I have, not the things that I'm striving for, and to focus on, this is where I was, this is where I've made it to so far, and celebrating that. So it's a really fascinating book. It's changed my mindset in a lot of ways.
That's definitely sounds like an amazing book. I definitely want to check that one out.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated with that.
Right.
Yeah.
If you could change your perspective and focus on, that which you've already accomplished and your wins that you've made along the way and your journey so far to date, it changes your mindset. And they're talking about how like it actually opens up your thinking process. And when you come from a positive mindset, what you tend to find is that there's more options out there. You can be more creative with how you want to, accomplish your goal or move towards a certain objective and so forth. Whereas when you're in a negative mindset or like a defensive mindset, you're really focused on like trying to jam like a square through a round hole or something like that. And so it just was very, very eye-opening book, and it just going through that, it's been a really good journey.
Yeah, that I definitely kind of feel that going through something like that. I'm definitely gonna check that one out. It's funny you say that actually, because I was listening to a podcast a couple days ago. It was a new one that like somebody posted on their Instagram story or something, just a motivational, whatever. And I popped it on when I was in the car, and they were talking about gratitude, and pretty much like exactly what you described of like, taking like, even like just taking a breath or something like that, and like just appreciating, like I can have like oxygen going through my lungs right now, and like just clearing your head, and like, just being thankful for everything that like you've built so far. And like, I thought it was really, really interesting. It's crazy that like you bring it up, because like I just heard that from another place like, a day ago. I'm like, wow, like that's crazy.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And there's real power to it. So I got the opportunity to do a couple free coaching sessions with the Tony Robbins group. Not with Tony Robbins, but with his right? I wish that's a bucket list.
Someday.
Right. And that was one of the first things they did, was they said, talk about your routines. Like, what does your routine look like? And they said, we want to start implementing a couple tools into your day that are going to help you achieve greater levels of happiness, greater levels of success, and so forth. And that was one of the things that they were 100% focused on, was gratefulness. And how do you change your mindset from where you're at today to being one that's like very positive, very grateful. It's something that we can all work on every day, right? It's easy. Like, we just start focusing on like, this is what we have, this is what we've accomplished, and so forth. And it's just very interesting. Science behind it is fascinating. I love that stuff.
It really is. And like, I thought it was interesting because like I was thinking about it recently. Like I don't know. I thought it was just kind of maybe like a mindset thing. Like, if you worked so hard to get like, that first property or something, and then like, oh, like, great, like you got it. Like, how come, I'm not feeling like super, super excited, and it's like, oh, well, now like you got one, and like, what's the next thing? And like, I was trying to figure it out. Like, if it was just like your mindset leveling up, because like you already, I guess, kind of got the gratification from building up to that. And now like you're there, and like, that's all you think about now. So now like you just have to keep building up, and then like you'll hit another level of gratification. And like, I wasn't sure. So I just, that book sounds absolutely crazy. Like, I'm about to order that like right after this.
Do it. You won't regret it.
Yeah. Wow. So Matt, what's kind of your, you talked a little bit about it, but like your kind of like drive and vision for the long term, like the financial freedom and.
Yes. So for me, it's about building a legacy. It's about building a lifestyle. It's lifestyle by design. So One of the things that I'm thinking about is, my wife and I have traveled extensively. We've gotten to travel all over the world, and it's been such a cool journey and experience. Obviously, with COVID, we haven't done any traveling, right? That those days are a little bit behind us for now. And with kids, it makes it a little tougher. But one of the things that I always wanted to do, my dream, is to take my girls, overseas and let them see different cultures and experience different things, food, and just, that kind of thing. So that's been a huge goal of mine, as a passion of mine. So I've set a goal for myself that I want to build up enough passive income that, before my girls go to college, we could take them, we all enough passive income that my wife can leave her job. I can, kind of step back, and we can actually go travel for 3 months out of the year. And that's no big deal kind of thing. I think that sort of passive income, and that's sort of the income level we're looking for. I think that's one, it's achievable through hard work. It's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight. But two, I just think those memories are just they're so powerful. They've been powerful memories for my early 20s and mid 20s, even into my 30s. Like, we got the opportunity to live in Ireland for a couple months, and it was life changing. It was so cool. And we went there we brought my in-laws, we brought cousins and so forth, or sorry, not cousins, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. And we made the best memories, and those memories will be with us forever, right? But the chance of us ever being able to do that again is slim, because our lives get busier. We have kids, it becomes more expensive, it becomes harder, so forth. And so what I want to do is to build towards that. That's something I'm very passionate about. And so I think we could do it. I think we could create a lifestyle where we don't work for money, we work for meaning, we work for purpose. Today, 99% of us work for money. Like, so most of us don't love our jobs, right? We're not like, Monday morning doesn't jazz us up. We're like, woo, Monday morning, skip the coffee, we're good. No, like, it's hardly the case, right? That's why TGIF, thank God it's Friday, let's get out of here kind of thing, right? And when you work for meaning, it's different. Like, when money's no longer an issue, life changes. It becomes a different game. And so that's what we're marching towards. And I think there's opportunity to be more philanthropic. The more money you have, the more philanthropic you can be. You can change people's lives. And I have a huge passion to mentor, coach people, and so forth. And so, yeah, I'm excited for that's kind of the end goal for me, is like the freedom to be able to take my girls anywhere we want to go, experience other places, while not experiencing like all of a sudden our income stops, that kind of thing, and so forth. So
it's absolutely awesome. I love that. And like, that's something that I've been fascinated with as well, and even really like the past couple months, like, it's, just the ideas like that people have been talking about, I've kind of come, I guess, more apparent, is like, just, how much bigger like everything we're trying to do is than like just the money. And like, I try and describe it to somebody, and like, it never comes out the right way. I'm like, the relationship with the dollar, like, yeah, I mean, like, everybody's doing this for the dollar, but like, it's bigger than that. Like, it is, but it's not. And like somebody, shout out to Jorge. He was one of the other like guests, a while back. He asked on the podcast, and like, it really got me thinking of like, oh, some of these people that are like uber wealthy, like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and, like all these guys, like, they've already made millions and billions and whatever dollars, net worth. Like, they've already made it. So like, why don't they just call it quits and sit on a beach somewhere and call it done? And it makes you start to think, like, these guys have already made it. Like, money wasn't, an issue like a lot for a wicked long time. So how come they're still working and building things? Because they're in it for, like, their why is different than just the money, like, it's something that really stuck out to me.
I love that. You're absolutely right. Like, the idea of not working, the idea of stopping working, like, is so foreign to me. Like, I don't ever want to stop working.
Yeah.
What I do and how I use my time is differently. So I like the term your life on your terms, right? So it's like you wake up and you decide to do whatever you feel is the most important thing to do that day, not what someone else is telling you that you need to do. You need to be here by 9. You need to leave after 5, that kind of thing. Forget that. If if you can have your life on your terms and kind of do what you choose to do, I mean, that's why there's value in work. There's huge value. You get self-worth out of it and so forth. And that's, and you believe in your why is so much bigger. And so that's why these guys are still working. I love that. I think that's huge.
It really is. It's something that, really, it got me thinking. I was like, wow, you're right.
Yeah.
Like if it was just about the money, like these guys would have clocked out a long time ago and that would have been it,
Right.
but
Right.
they're still in it and going stronger than ever, so it's crazy. So Matt, what do you consider to be, kind of like the biggest variable to expand your portfolio? I guess like it could be on maybe like the buy and hold side, like, just picking up rentals or like flips and stuff, like just to kind of keep
Did you say the biggest barrier?
or like variable.
Oh, variable. I thought you said barrier. So maybe I'll start with that one.
Sure, that works.
I think, I
Let's
think
do it.
variable barrier. I think the answer is probably going to end up being the same. It's the distance between your 2 ears, right? It's what's in your head, your mindset. I think that when we first set out we first set our goals around multifamily. We said we're going to flip 5 houses in our first year, or have 5 projects. It wasn't to flip 5 houses, but it was to have 5 projects. Whether they were buy and holds, we didn't care. Whether they were whether we wholesale them, that was fine. We just wanted to do 5 real estate deals.
Yeah.
And when you think about like what's your mindset and so forth, that was like unfathomable. I remember having the discussion of like, hey, listen, I know my goals need to be like, I had this internal dialogue happening that's like, my goals need to be achievable, but at the same time, they need to be aggressive. Is 5 way too many for a guy who knows nothing about real estate, right? And so, that we said, you know what, let's do it. My wife and I, we're gonna set our goal for 5 projects, and we're just gonna see what happens, right? We accomplished 5 projects, right? So the next year, we said, okay, we're gonna do 8 projects. Well, guess what? We did 8 projects, right? So it was like, all of a sudden, it's like, well, wait a second. I set a goal to do that. I put steps in place. I had an accountability coach. Like, I did the things that I said I was going to do, and boom, look what happened. So now I'm starting to think about this and say, hey, listen, we need to go after multifamily. We need to go after bigger projects. These smaller projects that make us, a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 a month, they're great and all, right? But can we do this at a larger scale? Can we do this with like a 10, 15 unit building? And so that's really, I think that when we talk about barrier, I think mindset is huge. And I think that you listen to Grant Cardone, you listen to a lot of these folks that are, very, very successful. A lot of them became very successful way later in life. They played it small for the first 30 years of their real estate investing career. And then all of a sudden they realize that, hey, listen, I'm playing small. I'm only buying what I can afford. Forget buying what you can afford. Figure out how to fundraise. Figure out how to partner. Figure out how to create relationships with other people that will allow you to do immensely larger projects that have more economies of scale, that have bigger things. And I think that's how you're developing your mindset, how you're thinking about that, and learning from others, and reading books and listening to podcasts, and really trying to expand your thought process. That's going to be how you accomplish or how you work through those barriers.
That's absolutely awesome. I love that. How was it like kind of going from, after like, just doing like the first couple projects, like with you and your wife, to maybe, like partnering with somebody, or like did somebody like approach you and just, well, and, I know we were kind of talking about it a little bit, like with your family and stuff, asking, but like, did the first person kind of like come to you, or like, did you guys realize like, hey, like we have our processes in place, and like, we've done 5 projects, 8 projects, like, how do we do this on a bigger scale? Like, did you kind of like go out into, like the environment and be like, all right, like, like who wants to partner kind of thing? Or like, did people kind of come to you?
Yeah, great question. So the first partnerships we did was really private lending, right? So we got deals that were great deals under contract. We put properties under contract that we didn't have the resources to accomplish financially. And we said, you know what, we're going to go out and we're going to figure out how do we do this? We're not gonna get caught up in this like analysis paralysis thing. We're gonna put a little bit of skin in the game. If we lose the money, we lose the money, right? And so we would lock up properties and go out and raise capital for it. And it worked. Every single property that we tried to fundraise for, we were able to fundraise for. And when I say fundraising, I'm not talking about family. I'm not talking about friends. I'm talking about most of the capital we raised was from complete strangers, people I've never met, or friends of friends. And we started to do is we started to put ourselves out there. We were offering great returns to folks. So people that are seeking, great returns, when you have a great project, you're experienced, you know what you're doing, people will come searching you out. I mean, so now I don't look at the money as necessarily, I'm sure I have limiting beliefs, but I don't look at the money on fix and flips as a concern whether I have the money or not. I will go out and, make some phone calls and see what can happen. Folks that are listening to this podcast, if you're looking to lend money, there are flippers, there are real estate developers in this community, myself included, that there's never enough money, right? There's always opportunity. There's more opportunity than there's money. And I think the mindset is there's not enough opportunity. We got to find the money first. No. It's the other one. Find the opportunity. The money will come. Always does. Wow. That's been my experience. This past month, January, we raised about $350,000 for two deals. One's a 7-unit, and one's a duplex. And these are great opportunities. We're providing awesome returns to people. We're experienced, and so those sort of the opportunities. Once you get the opportunity, the money's readily available.
That's really crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I've heard
it is. It is, but you know what? Here's the thing. Like, I start to think about this too, and I say, like, how are these guys buying these like 200-unit buildings and 500-unit buildings? They're doing the same thing, and they're probably looking at me like saying, "Wait, if he can do that, why isn't he doing this?" Like, right? Because there's a lot more money in those other deals, and and so forth. So, I don't know. That's where I'll be at some point.
Definitely, but again, it loops back to the mindset, right? And like the 100%. Self-limiting beliefs, and like it's interesting because like I've heard people mention before of like if you have like a really great deal, then like the money will come, quote unquote. But like to hear it in like a live like application like that is nuts. Like it's just like having that opportunity, and like people have money sitting in their bank accounts or what have you. And
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And depending on what your experience level is, I mean, maybe what you need in order to offer a stable return is maybe you take a really small percentage of the deal and you give it to someone as part of a JV to say, "Hey, listen, let me get my name on some paper. Let me get some experience. Let me learn the process." Right? Don't sign up for something that you're gonna lose your shirt on. You're gonna lose someone else's money on. That's dangerous, right? That's not the way to do it. But like, if you partner with someone, if you have the right coaches, the right team, and you're experienced,
why not?
Why not? Yeah, but if you're not, just partner with someone. I mean, get alongside, get on a project, go to someone's project every week to see what's going on, ask questions. Why you do things this way? What do you do? How do you do a scope of work? How do you do payment schedules? How do you make sure that your people are protected? What's your insurance look like, and so forth? And start to ask these questions. How do you manage contractors, and so forth? That's all that information is hugely helpful, and it's free, right? Just show up.
Yeah, it's so true too. Like, especially like you were what you were stemming to earlier of like listening to podcasts and going on like Biggerpockets or books, or like a lot of this information is just like out in the atmosphere, and like I feel like it's just a matter of like how bad you want it.
100%. I mean, it's commitment to self, right? You set a goal and you say, "Am I committed to becoming what I want to be?" Right? Like, if you're not, that's fine. It's okay. Like, if you don't really want it, then but if you really, really want it, you're committed to yourself. Listening to podcasts, reading books, talking to folks, picking up the phone, talking to people, showing up. That's all based on your mindset. And I think one of the ways, going back to gratitude, one of the ways that you can develop that discipline is really writing down what are your goals, I just wrote it. I wrote an article recently, so I have some fresh statistics that I thought were really fun. Only 3% of the population. This is actually not actually a real study, but there's this fake Harvard study out there that says only 3% of the population writes down their goals. It's probably true, but it's not.
Probably.
But what is true is you're 42% more likely to accomplish your goals if you write them down.
Wow.
And if you set weekly agenda items and talk to your friends or an accountability coach weekly about where you want to be and what you want to accomplish, you're 62% more likely to accomplish that goal, right? So now you've gone from being like, okay, you don't have any written goals, but maybe you have goals. So you wrote it down. Now you're 40% more likely to achieve it. You've moved forward, right? You're progressing. And then you start to do some accountability around that. Boom, that increases your likelihood substantially, right? I just find that stuff really, kind of exciting. So for me, my daily process and my daily routine is you get up, read your goals, right? Go through them, not just like quickly, like, I want to accomplish this.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Take 2 minutes, to read through your 5 seconds worth of goals and really think about it. Write down what you're grateful for. Practice that gratitude, and then go set your agenda for the day. What do you think you're going to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish this week? What are the big things you need to do? They might be small. They might be order business cards, right? But it's going to help you. It's going to take that one step forward every day.
Yeah. That's absolutely awesome. I absolutely love that too. So I wanted to ask, when it comes to like the accountability partner thing,
yeah,
I guess, how do you prefer to kind of like, do you have like a certain like accountability partner or like coaches and stuff? Like what's kind of your favorite, I guess kind of thing to keep you accountable, quote unquote?
Yeah. So there's one thing that I've done consistently for the last 2+ years, and that's I pay for a coach, and she's awesome. And if folks are looking for a rock star coach that's not going to just pat you on the back constantly, but it's going to be like, Matt, you really stunk at that. You said you were going to do this, you didn't do it, right? Like, what are you doing? In a loving way, in a kind way, in a way that's going to like uplift you and bring you to the next level. I got the perfect coach for you, and feel free to reach out. Her name's Jamie Saunders. She's been in real estate for decades now. She's a grandma, and she is a rock star. She absolutely kills it. So she's a great resource. And so coaching is huge for me. So, for every coaching session, I come with an agenda, a packed agenda of these are the things that I want to talk about. These are the things that I'm working on. This is where I see opportunity in the business. It's not passive. It's very active. You want to show up and you want to be prepared to speak to what you need to speak to, what you're working on. I think some people show up and they want to be told what to do. I think it's the other way around. I think you got to show up and say, this is what I'm doing. They'll correct you. She'll correct you. Other coaches, they'll correct you. But this is your future. This is your goals. This is your dream. You need to accomplish it, right? Your life on your terms. Now go out, figure out what the steps are you need to be doing, what action items you need to be doing in order to live that, right?
Yeah.
So coaching is huge.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's absolutely nuts. We haven't talked about that much on the podcast before. And like, I've been kind of curious myself, actually, and because like I've heard people talk about, like coaching and stuff like that before, and like, the accountability and stuff. And it's always been very, very interesting to me. But yeah, I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think when we think about coaching, like regardless of where you're at on your real estate journey, whether you're just beginning or you're experienced and looking to get to the next level, like coaching, and it doesn't mean you have to be real estate investing. It's any life goal.
Yeah.
And having a coach, having someone who's experienced can help you avoid a lot of missteps. Having someone that's been through whatever you're looking to accomplish and do, can really, avoiding the missteps is huge. But they can also show you what's working in your industry, what's working, for other people. Like they talk to hundreds of people on a regular basis. And so, having someone that's saying like, hey, listen, if you do that, here's what to expect. Here's what your response rate is. Are you looking for reasonable returns? Are you making enough offers? I don't know. It's everything, like everything from your marketing funnel. What's your marketing funnel look like to what sort of relationships are you cultivating to I guess like if you're looking to partner a joint venture, like how are you protecting yourself and their selves? How are you protecting your lenders, investors, and so forth? Having coaches it'll help you avoid a lot of mistakes. I mean, these people have decades of experience a lot of times.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. So are they like, I guess more of just, do they like give advice and stuff like that? I mean, obviously, like depending on the coach and the situation or application and stuff, like, is it like more of, like accountability and, like making sure, they're like holding you accountable, like plus kind of giving you advice, like how to improve, like that kind of thing?
It's not just accountability, to your point, it's training as well.
Oh, cool.
The coaches will talk you through, activities that they've seen. They may not give you the exact step-by-steps to go through, but they can at least point you to someone to have a conversation with that person because they have a really successful, I don't know, say marketing campaign. They're doing really well with direct mail marketing. They're targeting these sort of sellers. This is what they've seen. Have a conversation with them to see how many mailers are they sending out? How frequently are they sending out? They're being consistent with it, and so forth. Text message marketing, maybe that's another way. It might be a marketing thing. It might be when you're going to list your property, here's some things to think about. Have you thought about using Zillow video, right? Recording a video of the property. That way, we live in a COVID pandemic era where not everyone wants to go to the house. I mean, we're starting to see it open up a little bit more, but not everyone wants to go to houses. So are there free tools that are available out there that are going to increase your odds of success? How about appraisal packages? When you're selling a property, is it going to get appraised for what you're selling it for? Well, you can be passive and just kind of hope and cross your fingers and say, like, appraised for this. Or you can be active, right? And you could pull together, do some of the appraiser's job and say, hey, listen, I'm not telling you how to do your job. This is available here. I created this. If this is helpful, great. This is something that we do, right? Because we definitely want to sell our properties for as high value as we can. We want the highest return on investment, right? Yeah. And so there are things like that coaches will help you to like think through that I never would have thought through those things, right? Those are all, every one of those examples are real discussions that I've had with my coach, right? And so that will help you to get to the next level.
That's incredible. It really is. Yeah.
I mean, it's a business, right? And so we're not going to know everything about our business. Like, you're an HVAC pro, right? If someone came in and said, Kyle, we want you to talk about, electrical, you could be like, I don't know about this stuff, but you probably know something about it, right? You can speak to it to some extent, but you're not going to be the pro, right? So if someone could point to you and be like, hey, that guy over there is an electrician, he can help you out, he can have a discussion, you can figure out what the right answer is. Like, same with a business where we have to do personal development, we have to do financing, we have to do accounting, we have to do project management, all these factors, we have to do sales and marketing. We don't know everything about those things, right? And so we have to learn from people. We can either learn the hard way or we can have folks help us along the way who are experienced, and that can have tremendous value.
Yeah. I think that's super interesting, to your point of like all the different roles and stuff that like you have to kind of be at least, like while your business is starting off and that kind of thing. And like either kind of having the choice of like, going to someone who is very, very specialized in that task and kills it, and, finding like a coach like that to be able to, optimize, to your situation. Or, like if it like doesn't really fit for what you're looking for or something, like to be able to delegate that out, to the person who like should be a specialist in that. And that's super interesting.
Right. Definitely.
Ooh. So what is something that you thought about business, networking, or wealth creation that changed as you went along?
I think one of the things that's changed in the last 6, 7, 8 months that has been very eye-opening to me is that I had this thought process that I could do it all myself. I could do all the roles in my business by myself, and I certainly could, but not at scale. And what I've learned is I hired an admin in, I believe, like July, and all of a sudden it took a bunch of stuff off my plate, and I was like, wow, this is great.
This is awesome.
Focus on like more important things than paying bills, right? Then I found out that, hey, listen, this admin is actually a very experienced salesperson, been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa, this opened like new dimensions. And so I think something that's totally changed my perspective is that, like, at a certain point you can hire people to fill roles that you didn't that you thought you didn't need to fill, and it can create it allows you to be much more focused on the places where you add the most value. So project management adds the most value. Spend all your time there, right? And allow someone else to spend their time, it's your employee, on other tasks, marketing, partnering, building relationships, so forth. So that has been that's been very eye-opening for me. It's driven a lot of change.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's a really crazy thing. I actually hired a virtual assistant for to edit the podcast a while ago. And I totally see what you're talking about. Like, I was able to get a little taste of, like, even, to your point of, like, not just, somebody coming to do it like the exact way that you were doing it, like, whatever that task was, but even to do it better. And, like, even if they're like more specialized and, like, you liked it the way that you did it, and, like, everything was good. But then, these guys come on and they might have been doing this for, a really long time and have their own processes and, like, their own creativity and everything. And, like, it adds a whole nother element that, like, totally blows your mind apart. And it's like, whoa, like, not only, do I have to worry about this thing anymore, but now it's like twice as good as it was before. It's like, it's unreal. It's crazy.
It comes back to, like, you're giving someone the design freedom and the freedom to take something that they're an expert in and create something. And to your point, it came out even better than you could have anticipated. And you kind of, I love that. I got my cat in the background. Hey, buddy. VAs, by the way, VAs are super helpful. And there's some really awesome VAs out there that, if you're not looking to spend a lot of money, you could get some super high quality talent, and move your business forward for very low cost. It's a great way to grow a small business.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. And then even, like, to be able to, I guess, like, really sharpen and learn some of those skills of, like, managing people and, like, making sure, like, everybody's rowing in the same direction and everything. And, be able to learn that for a fraction of the cost,
Yes. One of the things that we've been focusing on in my business is standardization, making sure we have standard processes, still allowing room for design freedom and so forth, and the ability to change the process if it makes sense, like improve the process, right? We always want the process to get better and better and better. Yeah. But one of the things we've been doing is we've been using Zoom recordings to film ourselves doing repetitive tasks. Like, if you have a task that you need to do, say once a month or once every project or 10 times every project, why not record it? That way you could give that task in the future to a VA. You might not be ready today to do it. Maybe today your business isn't a place where you can do it. But having that recording and having it organized, you can upload it onto YouTube. You can make it unlisted if you don't want people to see it, right? There's all these things that in the future, when you're ready to say, hey, listen, here's what I want you to do, and here's how to go about doing it, you can send that to someone. Maybe they can improve upon the way you're doing it, but at least they know what your thought process is, how you went about it, and your overall expectations for it. I think that's super important.
Yeah, that's totally huge. And even, like, if it's not, I totally agree about, like, the video in particular, and, like, maybe being able to, like, commentate it, like, while you're doing it and everything, and be like, oh, like, watch out for this, or, like, I typically do it this way, but I'm not sure, like, that kind of thing. And like just some sort of standard operating procedure for, like the way that like you were doing it before. And yeah, I totally agree with you, because after reading The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, it kind of, like shifted my mind in terms of like everything being a process and writing out SOPs for everything. And like before, and I mean, it's still now, depending on the application, but I used to actually, just type out SOPs in like Microsoft Word, and they'd be like thousands of words and everything. And then to your exact point, somebody kind of put the bug in my ear of doing like, a training like on Zoom, and exactly the same thing, just going on my screen, like, screen recording, and
Right.
total game changer.
Hey, sometimes, I mean, some of the stuff some of the repetitive tasks that we're doing, it's to your point, like you can end up with thousands of words written down on Word, and someone could read through it and be very detailed and still not know what you mean by like pivot the data and doing, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, so it just takes out like a lot of ambiguity. So, I mean, both work, right? We have written processes, and we also have video recordings of those processes. So you can use one or the other or both, right? They can supplement each other. I think that's huge. Checklists, another thing.
It really is.
Yeah. There's a great book called Checklist Manifesto. I highly recommend reading that one. It's ironically about the power of checklists, right? And it just shows like the science behind it. I think the science behind it is fascinating. Where you have, I mean, one of the examples is in the emergency room. They rolled out a checklist for certain types of cases, and they saw infection rates decrease. They saw, a lot of improvements in their business. Mortality rates increased substantially, and so forth. And there's just a lot of power to having a checklist that can also help you to avoid that the feeling of just of rushing to accomplish something that you need to accomplish. Like you can plan better when you know what you need to do and what the steps are that need to happen in the next, say, 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
You can allocate your time better that way.
That sounds like another really, really good book, man. That's awesome. And that actually transitions into my next question of, the question, we already kind of answered it, is do you read? But if you had to pick a favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone, what would it be? If you had to just pick one.
I'm not gonna take the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. That definitely is like my most impactful book. I actually, what I'll share is let's see, the book that comes to mind is The Honeybee. It's this little, it's almost like, oh God, I got another one too. I got two.
Go for it. You can break the rules.
All right. The honey. There's a book. Let's see who wrote it. Gino Barbero wrote it, and it's called The Honeybee. And that book it's a real estate specific book, but it's written more like a parable format, like a storytelling of like this. It's like this couple that they're kind of trapped in the rat race, so to speak, and they slowly work their way out of it. And with, working their way out of it, new challenges come along. When they get to a certain level, a new challenge will pop up that they didn't anticipate, right? And then when they get to the next level, they figure out how to overcome that challenge. They get to the next level and they find, well, we got to do something different here. This is something that we didn't anticipate. And it's just about like, I think sometimes we think, oh, as soon as we get to this level, life's going to be easy, breezy, like we're good. But it's a fascinating book of how you can start, like, maybe the beginning of your journey and get all the way to the end of your journey and have just such a enjoyable experience, and it's accomplishable and so forth. And it's just written in it's done well. The other book that I'd say, if it's okay if I share too,
Sure.
it's The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver, similar type of story. It's a parable. It's about well, I won't spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it, but basically The Go-Giver is about basically a personality of like about helping others, right? And how you can benefit and others can benefit. You can benefit from other people's success. And when you enable it, it's not only rewarding for you, but it also creates longer term relationships and longer term opportunities for you. And I just found that book to be absolutely incredible. Like, just a fantastic book. It's something I try to read every year, just to go back through and just like refresh my memory of like serving others can also serve you, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to serve others with the goal, or you shouldn't serve others with the goal of it benefiting you. But a lot of times that's exactly how it plays out. Is like long term, it benefits you that you serve someone else.
Yeah. That was the one that I have read out of the past couple. I have quite the list to read. I'm very excited about it. Yeah,
Nice.
I totally agree with you. Someone actually gave me a copy of The Go-Giver, and like the thing that kind of blew me away is, that book is definitely, on the smaller scale, but the amount of information that's like really valuable in it, like that book packs a punch. Like that book is crazy. And it's like, like a quarter of the size of like most of the other like, business, like real estate books and stuff.
Yeah, like the font's bigger. It's probably 80 pages long. Well, font would probably be like 25 pages. But it's like, you're absolutely right. It's so good. There's a lot of meat on that bone, right?
Yeah. And especially, I think that's really valuable too, of like taking some of these books and like just rereading them once in a while. Like there's a handful of them that I like to try to read once a year. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad's one of them.
Yep.
What is it? How to Win Friends and Influence People's another one.
Yep.
The Richest Man in Babylon. That was another like, parable style kind of book. Yeah, no, I think that's something that's very, very valuable, just to kind of like refresh on some of those lessons and just kind of like re-implement them in your mindset.
Right.
But
Mark Cuban always talks about how like reading has really impacted his journey, his investment journey, and his business journey. And if you start to like, you think about like Warren Buffett, he spends like 5 or 6 hours a day reading, right? There's value in this, right? There's value in getting other perspectives and expanding your mindset. And the more we can do that, I look at that as an investment into yourself.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that consistently. It really can be hard to read on a consistent basis. But again, if you allocate, I just want to read 10 pages a day, right? Or something like that. That's pretty accomplishable. You could get through a book in 2-3 weeks, right? I mean, you just start going at it small, taking small steps, you can accomplish. You'd be surprised at like what you can accomplish, right?
Definitely. I totally agree with you, Matt. But yeah, I could talk to you for hours, man. Thank you so much for coming on here. That was absolutely amazing. Where on like social media can you be found?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. It's mdamon1590 is my hashtag. You can follow my business. It's Broadleaf REI. Both of them on Instagram. Would love to connect with more of your subscribers and help in any way I can. Your folks are more than welcome to reach out and connect. I'm always here. I'm a sounding board. If you have questions, you need support, you need help with something, a real estate project here in Massachusetts, I'm more than happy to talk you through it, share resources and so forth. So please reach out. We'd love to connect more. And thank you for having me on the podcast today. It's been awesome. It's been a great discussion.
That's awesome, Matt. Thank you so much. Was there you said you wrote an article? Do you have like a website or something as well?
On LinkedIn, I've been posting on LinkedIn quite a bit this year. It's a new thing. I haven't done it, so I just started this year. I've written a couple articles, kind of sharing a little bit about my journey, like where I've come from, where I'm going, just random thoughts that we have around financial freedom, around cash flow, around real estate investing. So follow me there. LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm not as active on Instagram, although I go onto it regularly. My business is very active on it. We're posting all the time. So check us out there. And also, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Definitely. I'll drop everything below, my man. Thank you very, very much for coming on. That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, Matt. Thank you so much, man. That was great.
Thank you. Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode. We want to thank you for being a valued listener of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Make sure to visit www.creatingwealth.com to connect with us. Dive into our ever-expanding library of informative blogs and explore a wide range of additional valuable resources. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to create wealth together.